Hello, we are back for the second block of our placemat. Just to remind you all, we have been working on my UFO, which is an unfinished object. And the unfinished part are 7 more placemats just like this. And we've got the AccuQuilt system all ready to go. We've got our cutter over here. We've got my 6-inch cube over here. And last time we talked about how we were using 3 of the dies inside of here, the 3, the 5, and the 8 for the for this placemat. And we finished last week. We finished the sailboat block, and then I went ahead and in the meantime I finished some more blocks to get our second placemat going, and I actually put them together on my first row. So we'll back up here a little bit. What I'd like to do today is the airplane block. So the airplane block is set out here. I don't know if you can see from above. I've set them all out. So like the same as the last time, we're going to take the smallest unit inside the block, which are these 2 half square triangles in the section of the airplane. So I'm going to take all 4 of those, place them right sides together, and we're going to set up a what they call in AccuQuilt, what they call assembly line sewing. We're going to set up 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to move over to the machine to do this. My beautiful JUKI 18, if you remember from last time. I'm still using it. Gotta love it. All right, so we set up our 1/4-inch seam allowance. Oh, and I forgot to mention that, I guess I can show you right here on this camera, that the AccuQuilt system, the AccuQuilt cutting system, cuts off those dog ears. So it's really good for triangles to cut off the dog ears, because if you didn't have, and you had a perfect triangle and those dog ears were not cut off, you would end up sewing down that seam, opening up, and then you'd have to cut them off anyways. So AccuQuilt does us a favor and cuts them off before we even sew. So there we go. Let's do our first seam of the day. Get warmed up. One. Number 2 is coming. Lift up the presser foot a little bit. Oops. I hope everybody enjoyed that little session of snow that we had yesterday. I mean, well, this is Thursday, so it would have been on Tuesday, right? With the miracle of camera work, our live performances are pre-recorded. And here's my 4th one. Got my 1/4-inch seam allowance going from point to point. I'm going to use my handy dandy thread cutter under there at the heel of my foot control. And where are my scissors? My scissors are over here. And I take off, separate all 4 of those pieces now. Now, if we were doing all 8 placemats all at once, my assembly line would be 4 times 8, 24 of these, and then I would go back and do block by block the rest of this. So now I'm going to open up my new squares that have a dark and a light half square triangle, creating a new square. And I am going to add the upper portion of another half square triangle, because what we're going to do is we're going to form another half square triangle with all 5 of these smaller half square triangles. Okay, so we've got a square that is made out of 2 half square triangles, a darker color and a lighter color. And so to place the next piece in this block, I am going to take and lay out my squares now so that the darker half of that half square triangle of that square is on the lower left hand side. So that's what I've done. I've set them up here on this tray. I don't know if you can see that at all. Yes, and so the lighter piece that we're adding to the side then has one of its shorter sides of the triangle on the right hand side. So that's how we're going to sew them all together. So here, let me show you how I did this on this one. So I've got that set up. So I'm going to put the square on top of the triangle and head over to my needle and go top to bottom. Quarter-inch seam. Oops, I need my handy dandy tool to line that up perfectly. This is the by Annie stiletto. All right, so then I've got my next one here. I'm going to set my square on top of the half square triangle. Bring it under the needle, under the foot. Get that all lined up. Next one, same thing. I've got 4 of these for each block. There we go. There's 3, and here comes 4. Put my square on top of the half square triangle. Yep. There we go. All right, so that part is done. Now I'm going to trim off all 4 of those, and then we're going to add, so we're trying to form another larger half square triangle that is the same size as the darker blue half square triangle. So we're going to add once we open these up here. Where should I go to show that? Right where I was good? Okay. All right, so I'm opening these up, finger pressing open, all 4, just so you can get an idea of the process here. Okay, so those are the 4, and let's grab our 1, 2, 3, 4 remaining lighter colored half square triangles, and we're going to be adding them with the shorter side of the triangle to form that half square triangle. So hopefully you can see that. The shorter side forms the half square triangle. Same thing here. And same thing here. So now we've got, if you can see, I'll show you that. So we're coming up with a shape that is the same shape once it's sewn together as this darker half square triangle. Okay, so let's go to the sewing machine and stitch these together. One after the other. And the next one, and that over. Oops, get it in there. Notice I'm going a little bit slower this time, just because these are points that are going to be matched here. Triangle sewing is a little bit more complex than just straight line squares, matching squares. Here's number 4. Okay, so you can see when I break these apart, all 4 of these get snipped apart. But now we have our half square, our larger half square triangle made out of 1, 2, 3, 4 smaller half square triangles. Oop, my iron just turned off again. Let's go reactivate that guy. It's talking to me, it's singing to me. Okay, so then we're just going to add all 4 of our larger half square triangles together. We're going to sew right down. So I'm going to keep the 4 pieces on the top so that I can actually match my points better. And I'll explain that. So basically, I don't know if you can see with the camera that I'm trying to cross just to the outside of this intersection here, so that when I open that up, let me push down my point. So when I open that up, you will see the points of this half square triangle perfectly. So let me sew one, and then we'll show you once it's sewn together how that works. I'm actually using my third hand, which is my knee, to lower the presser foot, and then let's go. So now, like I said, I want my needle to penetrate just to a hair to the right of that crosshair there. It should be 1/4 inch if I did my 1/4 inch seam allowance, if I did all of my calculating and my cutting and my sewing correctly up until now. Okay, let me just cut that one to show you real quick what we just did. So there is a perfect point that you can see right here that's revealed, and then we now have another square. So that's good. Let's try another one. Release my presser foot. Oh, I slid my tray over a little bit. Let's release my presser foot again. So right down there, I'm shooting for just to the right of that crosshair. While maintaining my 1/4 inch seam allowance, point to point. There we go. Let's add another one. There we go. Line up the piece and get that lined up. There we go. Oops, got caught under there, so I'll pick up the presser foot again. Okay, that's 3, and let's do all 4. And then we're going to sew them all together to form our block. Now, because these are just going to, for me, they're going to be the placemats in my home, I'm not as worried about all of the perfection, because I can see there's not a perfect seam under there right there, but I'm not so worried about that in this particular project. The perfectionist in me would want to rip out everything and start over again to make sure that that seam was perfect, but I'm not going to do that today. All right, so these are our 4 airplanes. Got 4 airplanes ready to be sewn together. Now, on my first placemat, of course, I had them going this way. So I guess I'll keep to, just for consistency's sake, even though I think they're supposed to be up like this, I am going to keep the airplanes. Maybe they're doing a maneuver where they're upside down. So they're sort of upside down airplanes, but I'm going to keep the consistency of my first placemat there and do it the way it was done. The other one. So let's just sew these together. That's my first row. So I've got 2 rows on this block, not 3 like the other block had 3 rows. So let's put row 2 together since we're on the machine already. Okay, so I've got both rows now. Let's show you that. I mean, I really could just not, I don't have to trim that actually. I'm going to leave that open and show that to you. So those are my 2 rows. Can you see that pretty well, Nikki? Yeah? Okay, so now I'm going to sew the 2 rows together. Let's see. Fold that one down and bring that one up. There we go. So again, you can see, if you can see, hopefully a little bit, I'll bring it in here. I am making one of these seams go one way and the back side go the other way. And so they marry together like that as I'm going to sew them together. Take my little point here and hold that down as I go along here. Keeping my 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way along. Here's where I have another point. So I'll just try to get across that one well at 1/4 inch, and then I keep going to the end. Cut that. And so there you have it. You have, there we go, our airplane block. So what we can do is show you, let's take this finished placemat away, bring back the one that's being made above me here, and then you can see that my first row has been sewn together already for the placemat. Let's sew the second row together. Let's see, I'm going to have to move that seam back the other way. Okay. All right, there we go. All right. I'm just stitching along at my 1/4" seam. That looks pretty good. Pull the excess thread away. So there's the first 2 pieces. We're going to add this next piece over here. You're staying on, buddy. Okay. We are almost ready for the ironing. Okay, so that's my second row. Let's put the first row and the second row together to form our placemat. Now here is where, let's see, which side do I want to sew from? Okay, I've got more points to watch on this side, so I'm going to flip this. No, we're gonna finish the top and then press it open, press it, and then the next time we'll maybe make the sandwich and finish it. Yeah. Okay, so this is almost ready for the iron. Take 1 point at a time here. I am matching, yep, I'm matching my seams from the back to the front. So let's skip the last bit too. Looking good. Okay. All right. So that means that we have our placemats together. Call that the top. That would be the top of the quilt all done. Placemat made. And then we move over to the iron. And there are a lot of seams on the back. So the idea would be to try to keep the seams as flat as possible on the back first. Go for the bigger seams first. Put a little steam in there. So that's what you get when you have a 6-inch cube. You have a lot of smaller pieces that you're dealing with. A lot of smaller seams. What's nice about a placemat is that it's forgiving. Actually, here, let's get this seam supposed to be this way. All right, so I flip that over, and then I can press this. With the steam. And it's looking pretty good. So next time, here, I'll bring this over to the other table now. Next time, we're going to take this top, the front, and we're going to sandwich, whoops, there goes my papers. We're going to sandwich one of these backings. So I've pre-cut all of my backings to larger than the placemat. And a piece of, I've got 7 pieces of batting here that I'll be taking one of to show you, right? To show you one of the battings. So we're going to sandwich it all together. And I've also pre-cut my 2.5-inch strips for the binding. So all of that is for next time. So thank you for watching and have a lovely day.